In this video, naming of tea, I will explain you which are the different ways of naming tea, and hopefully by the end of this video, all those strange Chinese names that today make no meaning to you will make sense. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, and today I'm drinking Xian. Xian is a Taiwan oolong, and the name Xian comes from the place where the tea is cultivated, the Ali mountain. The tea is made of a cultivar that is called Jinshuan, and in fact other teas in China are called by the name of this cultivar, Jinshuan. In particular, those kind of teas that are cultivated in the lowlands and are made out of the Jinshuan plant. In this scale, you could call this tea Jinshuan, but actually Xian is a better name because Xian is a famous mountain for tea. So if the tea comes from Xian, you want to point this out with the name of the tea. This is just an example of a typical Chinese, in this case Taiwanese tea, and I just gave you the explanation why the tea is called that way, but there are many different ways of naming tea in China as well as in Japan and in India. And with this video I would like to explain you the different ways so that in the future you will be hopefully be able a little bit to understand better why a certain tea is called in a certain way. Of course, you could translate the name of the tea in English and name it simply by the translation, and some vendors actually in the Western world do so. And however, we at nannuoshan prefer to give the tea the name that it has at its origin. In this case, for example, Xian from Taiwan, and the reason is very simple. It is already very difficult to spread out the word of true tea, of high quality artisan tea in the Western world. And we believe that if we rename the tea, we would create even more confusion. At first, you might think that a translation would help, but it does not. So take, for example, the tea Xian. Xian is a tea that is a cultivar that gives the name also to many other teas. That means something like water spirit, or maybe water sprite, or you could also translate it with water immortal. So you see there are many different translations, since these translations are not coordinated, every different vendors and shop might name it in a different way to create even more confusion. So it's simply better to learn once and forever that those tea are called Xian and learn which is the translation. At least this is what we believe. So on our product page, you will see on the top, of course, the name of the tea. For Chinese, it is the pinyin transliteration of the Chinese characters. And then further down in the page, you would also find the translations. There is a table with information about the tea, and there we translate the meaning. But now let's go back to the different ways of naming tea. We start with two methods that are the most common. One is place of origin, so giving a certain name, a certain tea, a name according to the place where the tea comes from. An example is this tea. Xian comes from the Ali mountain. But it's not the only one, and not only China use this method. For example, you well know the Assam is a black tea from India, and that tea is called in that way because it comes from the Assam region. The same for Darjeeling, or for Longjing, that comes from the Longjing village in the Zhejiang province, and so on. A second way is using the name of the cultivar, and we simply say before that this tea is made with the Jinshuan cultivar, and if this plant were cultivated in the lowland in Taiwan, it would most probably get the name Jinshuan. Now, Jinshuan is the same of the name of the cultivar. If you would translate it, it means golden daylily, which is a flower. So if you read the translation, you might think the name is a description of the taste of the tea or of the fragrance. It might be a fragrance of golden lily, but actually Jinshuan is not, the name Jinshuan was not decided based on the fragrance, but was simply the name of a relative of the first, or the person that first cultivated the Jinshuan cultivar. He was the first one able to breed that cultivar. I think it was even the first successful cultivar cultivated or created in Taiwan, and he gives to this tea, the name of one of his relatives, either his mother or his wife, I don't remember. Now, which are other ways for naming the tea? You could name the tea also by the appearance of the leaves. Now, there are many teas that follow this path. For example, the Ingen white tea is Ingen means silver needle, and it is called like that because the leaves have a fuzz on it, and this fuzz is white, and so the name of the tea recalls the appearance of the leaves. Yeah, another case is Zisun. Zisun means purple bamboo shoot. Why it is called that way? Because the leaves look a little bit purple, a little bit reddish. Not all of them, but some of them do so. And when the leaves are very young, they also, and not yet open, so they are just a bud, they resemble the shape of a bamboo shoot. That's why they give the name purple bamboo shoot, Zisun. We also see that sometimes the Chinese names are very compact. Zisun is just 5 characters, but if you have to translate it in English, you have to say purple bamboo shoot. And since actually it is called Guju Zisun, you should translate it as purple bamboo shoot from the Guju region, which is simply too long. It's much better to say simply Guju Zisun. Another way of naming the tea is according to the processing of the leaf. So the way that the leaves are processed after they have been harvested. For example, the Japanese green tea, sencha, is called like that because it is a steamed tea. And in fact, sencha in Japanese means steamed tea. Or, for example, you have Dianhong in Yunnan. Now, Dian is a shortening for Yunnan, an abbreviation for the word Yunnan, so the place where it comes from. But the second part of the name, Hong, means red. Why? Because it's a red tea. You know that in China, black tea are actually called red teas. And so on. You can also combine different ways of naming the tea in one single name. So we have just said Dian Hong is a combination of Dian that represent the origin of the tea, and Hong that represent the way the leaves are processed. They are processed into red tea. You could extend this category and also include other cultivation related naming. For example, you have my favorite or one of my favorite oolong, which is Danzong. Danzong means single bush. Why it is called like that? Because they are made from bushes that are almost identical to each other. They are all clones of the same mother bush, and therefore the name of this tea is related to the kind of cultivation, if you want. Or for example, the rock tea, which in Chinese is called yan cha. Yan means cliff, so yan cha is cliff tea because these teas are cultivated in a region where the high cliffs and also the very mineral soil give the characteristic taste of the tea. So they have associated the name of the tea with the terroir, the environment that is so characteristic for the tea. Another common way, especially in China, this one to give names to the tea is follow following a legend, or if you want maybe history sometime, and sometimes you don't know if it is legend or history. One good example is a green tea, Biluochun. Biluochun, the name Biluochun actually could be justified in two different ways. I will explain you first one, the legend. So the legend says that there was a plant, and this plant was watered with the tears of a lady whose name was Biluo. And when this lady passed away, the tree started sprouting tea leaves. And when the spring after the lady passed away, and that's why the tea has been named by the name of the lady, Biluo plus Chun, which means spring, so Biluo spring. There are other justification for the name of this tea, and maybe even more reasonable and than that, and is the fact that Biluochun means green snail spring, or if you want green spiral spring. Why? Because when the leaves are processed in the wok and they shrink, and while shrinking they resemble then the shape of a spiral. And so since they are green and this tea is is harvested in spring, they have called it green spiral spring, Bi Luo Chun. Now another way, and we are almost at the end, so I know that is a lot of material, but I'm sure you will be able also to review these videos and to stop a little bit and read all the information that I will write it. But there are unfortunately many ways of naming tea, and I wanted to give you a little bit an overview of all of them. Another way is using an artistic association, or if you want sometime a brand name or a marketing name. And this is something also very common in China. If you take, for example, Dongfang Meiren, which means Oriental Beauty, is a name that has nothing to do with the kind of cultivar or with the place of origin, is simply an artistic name. And the same is valid for many other teas. For example, you have Yunxi, which is a less known green tea from Yunnan. Yunxi means cloud silk. That's nothing to do with any of the explanations that I gave you before. It's simply a nice name. It sounds well. It sounds nicely in China, and therefore they simply gave to the tea this name. There is a last option that I want to mention today, and it is giving the tea a name that is reminiscent of the taste of the tea or of the fragrance of the tea. An example is Milan Xiang, which means honey orchid fragrance. This is a very common dancong tea, an oolong tea, and it is called like that because it has the fragrance of honey and orchid. And there is a clear association for that. Milan Xiang is also the name of the cultivar, but if you want, the cultivar has been given the name according to the fragrance of the tea. So I've given to you 8 different ways of naming teas. I know there is a lot to learn, but please do the effort. Don't start translating and referring to tea with the translation. It's something, of course, we can do, but it's always good to know which is the origin of that name. It's not too difficult, you know. I don't really speak Chinese. I speak just a little, but I've learned the name of the tea is something that everyone that is into it can do. I hope that you have enjoyed watching this video, and if this is the case, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, please go ahead and click that button, and more videos will come your way very soon. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon, and bye bye.